So we spoke about your family briefly. Did you grow up in a standard two-parent home?
Oh yes, oh yes. I grew up with my mother and father. It was eight children. It was five girls and three boys. And all we know is mom and dad from the beginning raised us in the church, and they were just wholesome, good, wholesome people that taught us family values and good morals and how to just love your neighbor as yourself and just to be kind to each other and we were taught that to love one another in our home.
Right.
And I've learned, Kyron, that you can't do that outside of the home if you're not used to doing it in the home.
Correct.
So I believe, like the old saying goes, charity begins at home and it spreads abroad, but it
Oh,
has to start at home first. But yeah, we were a close knit family, and I have to tell you, my when Dad died when I was 12,
wow.
that was a shaking up of our family because Dad was our provider, protector. He was the priest of the home, and when he left, we knew he had left because Dad was always the one caring. He loved my mom. He cared for us. And so when Mom was left, Mom was pretty much most of her life was growing up a homemaker,
Okay.
home at home.
Right.
So then when Dad died, Mother had to do other things. She had to go to work
Right.
and just do other things. So yes, we
Wow.
grew up with two parents in the home. So we
Wow.
were blessed to grow up with two parents.
It is. It is. It is. You know, I think it makes a big difference in terms of the upbringing of the child. It does make a big difference. I think it's very important to
Hmm.
have both parents there when you're a child. Very important. But
Yes.
that doesn't always happen. I mean, in life, things happen and people go their separate ways. People get, relationships on a whole. Sometimes they don't, how it is.
Hmm.
Sometimes work doesn't work out
Hmm.
at times. But yes, most definitely it's very important to have both parents. That does make a big difference. So you said
Yes.
you were around 12 when your dad died. How I assume by age 12 you had already had the roots and everything in terms of your standards and stuff like that upbringing. That was already instilled in you, I would assume, by age 12. How did things kind of change after the passing of your dad? Did anything change a little bit, or did you guys just have to kind of adjust to a different type of setting without dad? How did that affect you?
It affected me tremendously, and it affected my siblings and my mom too. And I say me because I was a daddy's girl, so
Okay,
I was more closer to dad at the time than my mom. And so when dad left, it's like my world left. My world was shaken up, and I had to really, really find my way. Had to
wow,
find my way in life, and I was just terrified that God took my daddy when I was so young.
right.
And so I'm thinking, and I want to share this with you
Mhm.
as my mind go back, when he took him, he died, and this real close to you leave, it's like I would say even a spouse or your father, mother, somebody you really depended on.
Mhm.
It leaves you in a place I call a vague place. You got to find your way from here on because it'll never be as it once was before. So
Right.
you're in a place that you're trying to find your way from
Okay.
that point to get to where you need to go.
Right.
And so it's a lot of emotional things you deal with. I made a lot of decisions based upon hurt and pain of losing my dad. I, remember that I didn't even want to go to college, but I always did. But I just didn't have the drive
Right.
to go like I did before. In the home, my mother and daddy got that home built from the ground up, a brick home, and that was kind of uncommon in that city and area for African American people, quote unquote. But
Wow.
my mom and dad worked together, and they believed that when you work together, God would move for you. And so we were able to grow up in a small city, but we never knew what it was to do without anything, do
Wow.
without. My mom and dad was there for us, but
You always.
things changed, it shifted. And it made me really kind of look more at life like, okay, dad was here, but dad will never be here. Dad won't be there for me when I graduate from high school. He won't be there. As a matter of fact, in our neighborhood or city, small city, we had what was called middle school And that's where I was in the middle school or junior high, they would call it. And it was 7th and 8th grade. And after 7th and 8th grade, you go to ninth through the 12th grade. So I was in the 7th grade at 12 years old. And I remember that when Dad died, I loved school. I never wanted to miss school. But I remember when Dad died, I didn't even care about school. I just was trying to live.
Right.
And I remember that even after going through all of that, I made it through and was able to graduate and go from the 8th grade the next year to the 9th grade. But it was rather different, Karen. The whole thing, his death shifted